morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me again today on Next on the Tee. We are brought to you today by the great folks over at the French Lick Resort, the Leather Shop, the PGA Tour Superstore, the Bobby Jones Company, and our great friends over at Frogger Golf as well. And if you haven't checked out FroggerGolf.com lately, they've got a wonderful array of products. I can't brag enough about their accessories, like the amphibian towel that won the best new product at the PGA Merchandise Show back in 2009, and their great new catch latch technology that easily and securely attaches and releases your amphibian towel, your Brush Pro club cleaner, right there on your golf bag. It really is a great way to make sure that you're not asking the group behind you, hey, anyone find my towel? So check it out online at FroggerGolf.com. And let me also say how much I love the new Bobby Jones apparel. The new fall collection is absolutely spectacular. The Bobby Jones brand pays tribute to its namesake for his achievements of excellence now with their sportswear, and thoughtfully designed, to preserve the great tradition of Bobby Jones. You can also, when you go on their site, BobbyJones.com, you can still see the playing lessons that Bobby Jones did way back in the day. Many of them still hold true to us today. So they're great golf shirts. Are soft. They're comfortable. Their new fall line is just coming out. It's fantastic. Go to BobbyJones.com to check out all the great new apparel. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and this morning I am so excited that I get to share two really great guests with you. And first up is one of my favorite guests that I've had the blessing and the privilege to get to know this year, and that's top 100 instructor Tom Patri. I'll talk to Tom about his memories of Arnold Palmer. We'll get some tips with him of how we can bump and run and putt the ball, a whole lot better. We'll get his expectations for the remainder of this year's Ryder Cup and what the Ryder Cup is really supposed to be all about. And I can't wait to talk to Tom. He'll be here with me in just a few minutes. Following him, I'll get a visit from Deanna Alfredo, and Deanna is the lifestyle editor of the 19th Hole magazine. She's gotten to play some great golf courses, stay at some great resorts, eat some great food. So I look forward to hearing all about all of that stuff when she joins me a little bit later in this half hour. So we're going to have a lot of fun this morning, folks. I'm so glad that you've chosen to be a part of the show today and take the journey with me over the next hour or so. And like I mentioned, a moment ago, we are sponsored by the French Lick Resort, which is an absolutely spectacular place, folks. Their Pete Dye and Donald Ross designed courses were ranked number 1 and number 2 up in the state of Indiana by Golf Week. It was the site of last year's Senior PGA Championship. They hosted the LPGA Legends Championship just a few weeks ago. Go to FrenchLick.com to see for yourself how great it is and to book your stay. We're also sponsored by our friends over at the Leather Shop. They are makers of top quality, custom-made leather, dress, casual, and golf shoes. Folks, do your feet a favor and put them inside shoes. They're going to keep them feeling good and looking good all day long. You can find them online at the-leather-shop.com. And like we do every week here on Next on the Tee, we like to kick off the show by saluting the brave men and women that are serving in every branch of our military who are tuning in around the world on the Armed Forces Radio Network. We want to thank all of you for the daily sacrifices that you and your families are making to protect our freedoms and our liberties. We also want to thank our veterans out there for all that you and your families have done for us over the years. It's through your strength and your efforts that our way of life continues to be possible. Folks, if you happen to see a member of our military when you're out and about, wherever you are, whether you're in a restaurant, the grocery store, the airport, wherever you might be, please stop for a moment and tell them thank you. They are our true heroes. Our sincere thanks as well to Sean Cruz and all the great folks over at the Armed Forces Radio Network. It is such an honor for us to have Next on the Tee being a part of your network. You can find our show by going to armedforcesradionetwork.org. And I also want to continue to remind our veterans out there, please be sure to check out globalvoiceforveterans.org. It is a great site with news and articles and a wealth of information that is specifically geared towards our veterans out there that I'm sure you're going to find both interesting to you and beneficial as well. Again, globalvoiceforveterans.org. All right, now back with me on the French Lick Resort guest line is, like I said, one of Golf Magazine's top 100 instructors, Tom Patri. And let me remind you a little bit more about Tom's background. He's from Middle Island, Long Island, up in New York. In 1973, he won the Long Island Boys Championship and the Long Island Private Schools Championship. In all, he won 15 junior events during his junior golf career. He played his college golf at Florida Southern, where he was a two-time first-team All-American. And in 1981, he led Florida Southern to the Division II National Championship, and he won the individual honors. In 1992, he was inducted into the Sunshine State Conference Hall of Fame. He turned pro and played professionally from 1981 to 1988 both in the U.S., Mexico, Canada, Europe, over in South Africa as well. He later became the director of golf instruction at Westchester Country Club, site of the Westchester Classic for so many years, and several other PGA and LPGA Tour events. He's been named the Teacher of the Year, everywhere he's been. Golf Magazine has named him a top 100 teacher every year since 2000. And beyond all of that, Tom is also an excellent writer. His work is, you can find it in numerous places like Golf Magazine, Golf Digest, Golf Illustrated. You've likely seen him on the Golf Channel's Academy Live as well. And like I say, that's all fantastic. But on top of all of that, Tom is a great guy as well. And I can't be thankful enough that he has joined me again this morning here on Next on the Tee. Good morning, Tom. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Chris, thanks for having me. And just to reiterate what you just said, the armed forces and the people overseas, we're so grateful for them, and it's such a great thing that you called them out at the beginning of each show. So thank you for doing that, and forward to everybody listening.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it's an honor for us to be able to provide some content to our friends in the armed forces. We are so thankful for their sacrifices. Tom, I wanted to start our time this morning by getting your memories of Arnold Palmer. Do you mind sharing some of your favorite stories about whether you watched or been around Mr. Palmer?
Chris, it's certainly for everybody been an emotional week with Arnold passing. For those of you guys who don't know, I don't know if you know this, Chris, my son's name is Palmer Jackson Patri. I named him after Arnold, and Arnold had a very dear friend who passed about a year before him named Jim Bell, who for a long time was the tournament director at the Bay Hill Classic, and Jim and I were old friends from my junior golf days, and I sent Jim a birth announcement when PJ was born, and he called me immediately and said, "Did you do it? I think you did." And I said, "I did." He said, "Well, I showed Arnold the birth announcement, and he wants to meet PJ." And I said, "Well, Jim, PJ's an infant, I'm not sure that, I'm not sure I understand." And he said, "He actually wants you to bring him up here. He wants to meet him." So our schedules were a little different, obviously, and we finally got together about a year after PJ was born and went up and brought PJ up to Arnold, and Arnold actually walked out and took PJ in his arms and went into his office and and I don't mean it appropriately, but kind of funny ignored us and put PJ on his desk and played with him and made some phone calls and like any grandfather type figure would do. He was kind of playing with PJ and talking to him and came out to see us again, took a picture with him, and he said, "I got to go." I said, "King, you got to go?" Because, I just stayed here to meet PJ. I was supposed to be on a plane 2 hours ago.
Wow.
Which was pretty unbelievable. So fast forward, Chris, when PJ turned 15 last year, I felt like, Arnold wasn't doing well, and I certainly wanted PJ to understand who Arnold was, and although I think he does. And we called up again, and Arnold said, "Bring him up," and we spent, about a half an hour with him last winter. Winter before last, excuse me. PJ was 15, and Arnold was tremendous with him, asking him. And Arnold was so good at making you feel like it was all about you all the time, not about him. And PJ was kind of starstruck because he knew who Mr. Palmer was, obviously, and just a guy that, every time I was around him, we had lunch on a couple of occasions and stuff. It just was always about you, not about him, about what you were doing in your life, and obviously we've seen this outpouring since he passed of all these different stories, and so my stories are not unique or special in any way, because he did that with everybody he met. He was a giver, not a taker, and we'll miss him.
Yeah, absolutely we will. It's been hard. I know it's been hard on everybody that loves the game of golf and obviously loves Mr. Palmer. But it's Tom is and our announcer Joe LaGianusa, Mr. Palmer was his first idol growing up, and now it just seems odd to me that we are living in a world that doesn't include Mr. Palmer.
Certainly my golf hero, Chris. It was my first golf hero. It inspired me to play the game and got me connected to the game and got me excited about the game. So we've lost a real treasure.
Tom, let's shift to some of the things going on in and around the game right now. Obviously, the major news, after Mr. Palmer's passing right now is, the Ryder Cup, right? We got the Ryder Cup going on as we head into day two. The Americans got off to a really good start, sweeping Europe, in the opening alternate shot round yesterday, and nearly got swept right back in the afternoon. So curious to get your thought. What do you expect to see in day two at the Ryder Cup?
There's so much great talent on both sides and so much emotion and passion in this event, Chris. It's an ebb and flow thing. somebody makes a run, somebody else makes a run. It's so hard to predict. You've got so many great players, that have to peak at the right time to play this game at that level. And I can't express to you what I can't even imagine. And I played some professional golf, but I can't even imagine the amount of pressure is involved in this situation and scenario. Listen, we're not playing for money right now. We're playing for pride. We're playing for country. We're playing for team. It's a whole different environment and a whole different animal. So I just think that it's so exciting to watch it. I'm obviously pro USA, but I have a lot of admiration for the other side too. It's just been fun to watch. I think it's really important today that we don't have a repeat of yesterday afternoon. I think that yesterday morning, so much was spent on yesterday morning emotionally and from a passionate state that they were a little out of gas in the afternoon. So you have to sustain this over 3 days and a lot of different match situations. I think Davis has done a wonderful job so far. I think he'll continue to do a great job. Darren Clark is his equal, no doubt. But there's a lot of golf to be played yet. And it's all going to come down to, as we know, it's all going to come down to the singles when everybody has to tee it up. So I'd like to see them. I wouldn't mind today if it was a dead split today and we got into the singles with a slight lead tomorrow. That'd be just fine with me.
One of the other things, Tom, that, even before the matches got kicked off, and we've seen a couple of things, one of the bigger things is, Phil continues to be, a little bit judgy, maybe is the word.
What, Chris? Chris, a little bit. Let me see what word you're going to use here, Chris. A little bit what?
Right. I'm trying to pick my adjective very carefully. Let's say a little judgy about past captains and what that's been like. I'm curious to get your thoughts about, Phil being a little bit critical of some of the captains over the last few years.
Chris, let me start by saying I think Phil Mickelson is an incredible talent. Off the charts. If Phil had lived in any other era but the Tiger era, he would have been Tiger. The record he's put on the golf course, through his years of competition is off the charts. He's one of the great players of all time. I have a lot of admiration for his talent. I've gotten in trouble before with this type of an interview, so I'm going to get in trouble again. Phil cannot keep his mouth shut. He just, once or twice a year, he opens his mouth and inserts his foot. And I think Rory is an equal. Rory's managed to do that once or twice a year in his career too. I don't understand Phil's commentary sometimes. I don't understand where it comes from, what the thought process is, and how he gets to that point. And I think Rory's demonstrated that. He did that pre the Olympics himself. I think the Ryder Cup is about the Ryder Cup. It's not about Phil Mickelson. It's not about Rory McIlroy. It's not about anything else, but it's about the Ryder Cup. And when somebody takes center stage and takes the attention away from the event, I think that's unfortunate.
And you talk about what the Ryder Cup is about, Tom. And I kind of guess if you go all the way back, and you go back to the the 60s, 70s, what comes to mind immediately to me, because I'm such a big Jack Nicklaus fan, is the concession. What it was supposed to be about.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Nicklaus always talked about it's supposed to be an exhibition. It's supposed to, promote the game of golf, and it's really grown to be much more than that. But in your mind, remind us, what is the Ryder Cup supposed to be about, and what has it turned into? Well,
I listen, with social media today, Chris, and the microscope we're under, and these players are under as great players, and everybody's under. Whether you're a journalist, whether you're a player, whether you're a caddy, whether you're a teacher or a coach, I think you have to pick your spots and your words pretty carefully. So I can't picture Jack Nicklaus. I can't picture Arnold Palmer. I can't picture Jackie Burke. I can't picture Tony Jacklin or Henry Cotton, for that matter, making the comments about past captains that Phil made. Whether you agree or disagree with your captain and his philosophy, I think out of respect, those kind of arguments and those kind of situations are done behind closed doors in private. The Ryder Cup is about a competition. It's about a camaraderie. It's about a team atmosphere. It's about national pride. It's not about individuals. It's just not. That's just not what it is. It's when the individual gets put aside and the team gets put to the forefront and national pride gets put to the forefront. So I think that because of social media, and I think because of individuals voicing their opinions about certain things publicly, I think we've tainted it just a bit, and I think we need to get back to what it's really supposed to be, which is a fun, healthy competition that's extremely passionate. I get it, but it's not based on individual opinion.
And Tom, let's put you in Davis Love's shoes now for this afternoon and tomorrow. We've seen Jordan Spieth and Patrick Reed. They're a great duo together. They've had some great success. They played both rounds yesterday. They're also out this morning in the foursomes. So they played 30 holes yesterday, and we hope it only takes them as few holes as possible, obviously, to get their win today. But let's speculate a little bit. Let's say they win 3-2, and knocking on wood, rooting for those guys. That's 16 more holes today, 46 holes, really over about a 36-hour span. If you're the captain, even though they've had 2 wins, they're playing well, is there any way you're playing them again this afternoon? How do you really set things up so the guys don't end up being, whether, you mentioned this a moment ago, Tom, emotionally spent or just, physically spent after playing so much golf?
Yeah, I think you look at it 2 ways, Chris. I think one, when you have guys as young as Jordan Spieth and Patrick Reed that are running on adrenaline, that adrenaline will flow pretty carefully and pretty freely for 3 days. I think that these guys are they don't want to sit down. They're like a caged tiger or a lion that want to get out there and fight, and they want to go. So I don't think, I think at the end of 3 days they're actually physically and mentally exhausted and they're going to fall down and pass out. But, Davis has got to balance the fact that they want to play and they probably can physically get it done with how are they playing? But listen, yesterday afternoon they didn't look too good. Now they got outplayed. It's clear they got ran into a buzzsaw with who they faced, but it's a balancing act. It's a hard balancing act, and I'm not sure I'm experienced or bright enough and have enough of the insight behind the scenes to what goes on that Davis has right now to make that call. If they play well this morning, and if they get on a little bit of a roll this morning, would I play them this afternoon? I got to tell you, Chris, I probably would. I probably would. Because I can put them to bed tonight, and they only have 18 to play tomorrow in a singles match. So I might roll the dice on that. If they get drilled this morning, and let's God bite my tongue, I hope that doesn't happen.
Right.
I might sit them down and rest them a little bit and let them take a breather, because I got a lot of talent sitting there behind them. So it's a tough call. I think you have to look at the. Like I said earlier, the ebb and flow of what goes on and the emotion of what goes on and actually what goes on the golf course in terms of quality of play.
Tom, last week I had the privilege of having Mark Dusbabic on the show, one of the lead rules officials, for the PGA. Curious to get your thought. Mark talked about the extensive amount of time and study. He equated it to taking the bar exam in order to know enough about the rules to pass the test and be a rules official, which to me says we got too many rules in the game of golf. If it's really that hard to figure out, and we've had a lot of questions, we've seen a lot of things with guys getting rulings and things of that nature, through the tournaments and all of that sort of thing. But just wanted to get your thoughts. Is the game of golf over legislated, if you will, or we just got too many darn rules in the game? Are there some things that when you look at it, you go, you know what, we need to get rid of this rule and that rule?
Yeah, I think that I don't think it's necessarily over legislated. Because I think what happens is there's so many unique situations in the game because you're playing on, in some cases, 200 acres of turf and weather conditions and situations that arise that are unique. We see so many strange things that occur on a golf course where the golf ball ends up sometimes. So I don't think it's necessarily over legislated. I think that there are a couple things that I don't understand in 2016 that are sometimes different in America and in Europe. Like, for example, rocks in a bunker. I don't think you just have to hit a shot, or if you come upon a rock in a bunker, well, you can't lift the rocks, things like that. Or tapping down a spike mark. I just don't see spike marks as rubber to the green, So those things are kind of silly to me. I think they're kind of antiquated, and I think because of the increase in traffic and how finely manicured turf grass is on the putting surface, that should be able to type down a spike mark. But no, I don't think that's over-legislated. I think that it's just a game that lends itself to so many unique situations and occurrences that crazy things seem to happen out there. And I think that rules officials today, because of the amount of money these guys are playing for and the amount of pressure they're playing under, have to be almost overqualified to go out there and legislate a situation that is difficult at times.
And Tom, before we get too far off the Ryder Cup topic, you've posted videos of Seve Ballesteros, and you talked about how much fun it was to watch him play. And as we look at the Ryder Cup, and no one, I don't think, has done more gamesmanship types of things, during the Ryder Cup than Seve did. Talk about, though, your admiration of Seve Ballesteros.
Well, Chris, I don't know if you know this stuff, but I had the great fortune during my Westchester years in the 90s to work with Seve a couple of times, and we became fairly friendly. He was an interesting and very, very complex individual. As competitive as you saw him and the public saw him and all the gamesmanship, I remember working with him for the first time, which wasn't a great deal of time the first time I worked with him, and that winter I got a Christmas card from him. And follow-up emails from him and notes from him in the mail. He was a very different person behind the scenes than what the public saw as a competitor. When the bell went off and it was a green light, he was going to rip your face off if he had you to win. And that's the competitive nature of a great champion. So I don't have any problem with that at all. I mean, the gamesmanship, there's legendary stories about his gamesmanship, and especially in the Ryder Cup. I kind of like that stuff. I kind of like the trash talking. As a New York Knicks fan, I was a huge Larry Bird fan, so I understand trash talking and its place in the game and how that goes on behind the scenes and on the court or on a golf course. But he was a very complex individual. He was an incredible talent. The things he could make a golf ball do, I witnessed some of it up close. It was off the charts. So I think that the way Arnold Palmer revitalized the Open Championship overseas, Seve single-handedly took the Ryder Cup and put it on a mantle that had never been on before, and for that we have to be eternally grateful to him for. He was a very special, very dynamic, very charismatic individual that just like Arnold. When Seve passed, we lost a treasure.
And to your point, Tom, as you got to spend some time around Seve, and no one had softer hands than Seve did. What a great, chipper and imaginative guy that he was out on the golf course. What are some of the things? Did he teach you things that you've incorporated into the things that you're now passing on to your students?
Absolutely. I think in 2016, the game of golf, Chris, is extremely overtaught and extremely undercoached. And, in an age when we have TrackMan and V1 and video and high-speed HD and this and that and the other thing, the man was an absolute artist. And there are things he could do that TrackMan would not read or understand. He was a genius. So I have a lot of respect and regard for technology today, and I think TrackMan is a wonderful tool. But, I think Seve would have kind of laughed at TrackMan a little bit, and hit shots that would have confused TrackMan, quite frankly. I remember the first time I worked with him, when we got done with our session, and I was kind of floored by this. He asked me what he owed me. And I kind of was like, owed me? I think I owe you something just for spending time with you. But I said, I'll tell you what, I'll trade you whatever we just did for a half-hour bunker lesson. And we went down to the short game here at Westchester, and there's a really, really deep, high-faced bunker there. And he said, what is your question? And we were kind of laughing and joking back and forth with each other. And I said, I've heard you hit, a 5-iron or a 3-iron in this situation out of this bunker, and you can make it look like a bunker shot. And he started laughing, almost like I was being an idiot, which I probably was in his mind. And he got into this bunker, Chris, and I'm telling you, it was a 4 or 5 foot face of this bunker to a very closely cut pin. And he took out a 3-iron and hit shots that I can't hit with a 60-degree wedge if I had 15 chances.
Wow.
and you can't teach that. You don't. And I sat there with my jaw hitting my feet and just thinking, what in the hell am I actually watching right now? What is going on here? And he didn't hit one, Chris. He had everyone like that, and he did it 8 or 10 or 12 times in front of me, and I walked away from there not understanding what I had just watched. And I felt like I was a pretty good player and a pretty good teacher, and I just knew that I just seen something that was off the charts. So I think we've lost that understanding with our young people today about teaching the creativity of the game. That's why Phil is so good, by the way. I just knocked him a little while ago about his comments, but I had to give him credit. That's why Phil is so great, because he has a little bit of that in him. I had a little bit of that Sevy in him. I think that we've seen certain people through the years that have had a little bit of it that have been really special, but nobody quite like Sevy. Nobody.
I am talking with top 100 instructor Tom Patri here on Next on the Tee. And Tom, before we let you go, I got to get a couple of tips from you on how we can do things differently and better. Maybe take a couple of strokes off our scores this weekend. And many of us weekend warriors, we seem to have a deep fascination with our drivers and buying the next biggest, greatest, longest sitting driver, but we don't spend enough time practicing around the greens, the chipping and the putting. So what's a good tip for us so that we can bump and run the ball closer to the hole?
Well, I think the first tip, Chris, before we even go there about short game, is if you really want to learn the short game, and we just talked about Sevy, I think one of the great teachers in the world today, maybe the greatest teacher in the world today, which is available to everybody on this planet for free, is a thing called YouTube. So if you really want to learn things, I think we learn a lot of things by watching, and using our eyes and opening our minds. I think that if you go to YouTube, there's a tremendous amount of HD film on there of the great Sevy Ballesteros hitting short shots, and I think that would be a great starting point. And the second thing you can do this weekend is on the golf course that's arguably one of the longest, most grueling golf courses in the Ryder Cup history at Hazeltine, spend some time watching Zach Johnson play the next couple of days. I mean, what an amazing individual who's not a bomber, who doesn't hit it like Dustin Johnson. As a matter of fact, there's two Johnsons on the PGA Tour, Zach and Dustin, and everybody's enamored with Dustin, who hits at 9 miles. Let's keep in mind that Zach has 2 majors and Dustin has 1. So I still think that we can learn an awful lot about playing the game of golf from the people who played at the highest level by watching. And if we watch a lot of what they do from 100 yards and in, and we watch the Zach Johnsons of the world and the Jordan Spieths of the world, who are not bombers of the golf ball, dissect the golf course that is, I don't know how long Hazeltine's playing this week. I'd imagine it's playing well over 7,000 yards, and it's wet from the rain that they've encountered out there in that area of the country. Just amazing golf, in and around the greens, and so many great shots hit. But bumping and running the ball has become a lost art. Chipping the ball, Chris, has become a lost art because we all have these 6-degree clubs. We think we should throw it right up in the air like Phil and Sevy did. One of the things you have to keep in mind that we don't have Phil and Sevy's hands and gifts. And not that we can't develop those, that shot, but playing the golf ball along the ground is a lost art. And I think that, hitting shots around the green in the bump and run fashion with a hybrid today is something that people don't do enough of when you encounter difficult tight lies around the putting surface, and hitting a 5, 6, or 7 iron bump and run shot is something that certainly should be developed. And if you work with a PGA professional out there and have a coach, I would ask that question and want to explore that part of the game in great depth, because I think it's a tool that can save you a tremendous amount of shots on the golf course.
Tom, one more before we let you go. Let's talk about putting for a minute. I saw in your most recent newsletter that people can sign up for on your website, tompatri.com, that 36 putts per round. You were saying that's not very good, and if you think that's good, then let me teach you something, right? So talk about how we can do a better job of getting our putts per round under 30. Well,
I think if you just go back to pure stats, Chris, just pure stats, it's arguable that about 43% of golf is putting the golf ball. So 43% is putting the golf ball, and 57% is everything else combined. And if you look at stats, in raw form, about 11%, which is the next highest stat, is chipping and pitching the golf ball. So if you can't putt at a pretty high level, you probably can't change the last box of the scorecard, which is the total box. So I think that, when I go to the club day to day and teach, as I'm teaching, I observe what's going on around me, and I'm pretty good at that. There's a lot of people hitting golf balls, and usually the putting green and the short game area is relatively empty in comparison. So you've got to shift your attention and the amount of time spent. Because listen, chipping or pitching the golf ball, bumping and running the golf ball, and putting the golf ball, after their technique is understood, which is not tremendous amount of information, is feel and repetition, is to develop feel and repeatability. So if you're not going to do it a lot, you're not going to get better at it. It's like shooting free throws, Everybody thinks the three-point shot is exciting, but when it comes up to playoff time, defense and free throws are kind of important. So you've got to be able to putt the ball at a high level. 36 putts to me is kind of, I put that in the Helen Keller category. You can do that as a blind person, So you've got to get that putting stat down around 30 or under 30, which is a combination, Chris, of how well you chip and pitch it to proximity and then how well you convert, and then eliminating the thing that I hate more than anything else in golf, which is the three-putt, which is feel and touch for distance control. So, there's a lot of components there that have to be touched to really bring that number down. But for folks out there listening that play this great game, please invest some time from 30 yards in. Please spend more time on the putting surface. Please develop a series of drills you can do for both speed control and conversion from 5 or 6 feet and in, because you'll enjoy the game a lot more. Your scores will be lower, and you'll take a lot of money from your friends.
There you go. Tom, like I mentioned earlier, you've got a wonderful website, tompatri.com. Let our listeners know all the great stuff that they can find on your site, and also how they can follow you over social media as well.
Yeah, Chris. Twitter feed, 2 Facebook pages, the website, which directs you through the website to all those other social media platforms, which is tompatri.com. I'm located in Naples, Florida during the winter season. I'm just about to kick off my winter season at the Esplanade in Naples. But everything is on my website at tompatri.com. They can reach me directly at 239-404-7790. I'm happy to take anybody's emails or text messages with questions they might have. That's what I love to do. So feel free to contact me with anything you might have that might make your golf day better.
Tom, thank you so much for joining me again this morning. And I read this the last time you joined me, but the message is so important that I want to do it again. And you were quoted in an article that appeared in the Naples Daily News a few years ago as saying, "Treasure each day to the fullest. Learn and enjoy as best you can from each experience. Let no one event get you down. And finally, thank God for every day your eyes open and you see the sky," which is great advice for all of us every day, Tom. Thank you so much again for being a part of the show.
God bless you, Chris. Thank you.
Tom, take care. We'll catch up again soon. All the best to you and your family, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
That is Top 100 instructor Tom Patri, and Tom spells his last name Patri, so tompatri.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Patri as well. So many great things there and so many other great stories and things that I want to get into with Tom. So we look forward to getting Tom back on the show as soon as possible. All right, before we get to my next guest, Deanna Alfredo, I want to give a shout-out to our friends over at the Bobby Jones Company. Folks, raise your game to new heights in performance with a brand that's been known for style, character, and excellence for the last 25 years, and that's the Bobby Jones Company. They have an inspired collection of products that capitalize on fabric technology to deliver a modern look and performance while honoring the legacy of Mr. Jones that, delivers on the promise of enduring style. They work hard to earn your respect, your trust, your business, and just as important now, your long-term friendship as well. Communicate that you're here to stay by wearing clothes from a brand that has enduring style and presence, and that's the Bobby Jones Company. Check out all their great styles by going to bobbyjones.com. And while you're on their site, click on the equipment link that you'll see at the top. They've got a great line of drivers, fairway woods, hybrids, putters, designed by one of the game's most influential equipment designers. That's Jesse Ortiz. You heard Jesse on the show not all that long ago. Jesse, like his father, Lou, and even Mr. Jones, has a passion for golf and club design. You remember his great tri-wood metal fairway woods back in the day with Olimar. Well, now he's putting, his innovative designs and creativity, to work for the Bobby Jones Company. So go online. You can go on, like I say, to bobbyjones.com and click on the equipment link, or you can go directly to bobbyjonesclubs.com. Such fantastic stuff that Jesse is doing. All right, we're going to get to Deanna here in just a moment, and we're going to do that on the other side of this station identification.
You're listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, heard around the world on the Armed Forces Radio Network.
All right, now joining me on the French Lick Resort guest line is Deanna Alfredo. Deanna is the food and golf lifestyle editor for the 19th Hole magazine, which you can find online at 19thholemag.com. She's also got a great website of her own, Deanna Alfredo. Twitter at Tee to Table. And I'm very excited that Deanna is with me this morning here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Deanna, Chris Mascaro here. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Hi, Chris. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Oh, it's a very wet day in Michigan, so no golf in sight today, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry to hear that. So, Deanna, first of all, I love your Twitter feed and I love your blog, which talk about so many great places, that you've been. You got food ideas on there. You talk a little beer too, so it's absolutely perfect for us. So let's start by talking about some of the great places that you've been able to travel to and play golf. What are some of your favorite places, plus maybe some places folks may not be as familiar with that you think we should have on our list of places to stay and play?
Oh, wow. It depends on regions. I have one of my favorite areas to go play golf is Virginia. It is really a hidden gem as far as really great golf resorts and clubs, and really to have that whole experience. For me, what I enjoy the most about traveling and playing golf is the experience side of golf. I'm not a tour professional. Most of us are not. But the avid golfer might enjoy traveling and everything around the game, like great places to stay and great food and drinks and people. And Virginia is the embodiment of all that. Actually, we're going in 2 weeks to a club called Ballyhat Golf Club in Roanoke, Virginia. And that's a private club. But, there are Nick Faldo's a member there, Peter Costas and a few other people. And it's one of those places where you go and you park your car and you stay in cottages on the resort and you jet out the world and just play golf and enjoy the game of golf and the lifestyle around it.
So, and I saw some of the pictures I think you posted for Ballyhack. It looks absolutely spectacular. So
yeah.
Are there courses now that, that you've got lined up or you want to go see that, are still on your bucket list that you'd like to, first play and then review and let us know about?
Oh, absolutely. I've spent some time, throughout most of the areas of the United States and the Caribbean. I haven't gotten to go to Ireland or Scotland. That's a bucket list trip, of course. Pebble Beach ranks up there. And, one of my goals is someday, crossing my fingers, would be great to play in the Pro-Am there.
Yes.
Those are a few of the resorts. Bandon Dunes, we were going to go there last October, and then there was some horrible weather, and we weren't able to head there. But, the journey in Bandon, we were going to do the wine region on the way there. So really have that, again, lifestyle trip around golf and that enjoyment.
So talk about some of the places that you've traveled to that, that you've been able to stay and be a part of that, we need to go check out online or on your site. I got to imagine you've seen some fantastic places.
I have. One of my last October, one of my favorite experiences, I had the opportunity to go to Sandals Resort in Emerald Bay and play golf with Greg Norman. And that was a trip of a lifetime. Actually, 3 holes of golf with Greg Norman with 2 other people. And it was remarkable. He designed the course there at Emerald Bay, and they had invited about 15 of us to go and spend about 2 days, time on the range with him, dinner, experiencing his wines. And it was a really intimate event. And it was I was the only female writer there, so that was a fun twist on the questions I asked him. His daughter and son are very involved in his other brands, and he's just a really, really amazing business person. So be able to pick his brain a little bit that way. But I remember I was on this par 3 that was the most beautiful hole, and here's the ocean lapping up, and it's an elevated tee box and very difficult. And I hit this tee shot, and it was actually really good. And Greg Norman pulls up. And I knew he was there, and we were playing, and we played 3 holes, and it was a great experience. And then he pulled away, and I think the enormity of it hit me that I just took a selfie with Greg Norman and played 3 holes of golf, and I was done. My round was done. I said, okay, it's the 17th hole. Let's go in. I think I need a cocktail. That was a great.
Dan, talk about some of the great places where the food has been really good. For the foodies out there, where is some great food to be had?
And might seem a little cliche, is the Masters. But I had a great opportunity to go to Berksman's Place while I was at the Masters. And for people that aren't aware, it's almost like a club within the club off of the number 5 tee box.
Yes.
And you have a pass that's good for a couple days that you purchase. And you walk in the doors, and it's almost this restaurant, shopping, drink mecca where everything's included in your ticket. And I did a progressive eating one day with a group of people, and we had snacks at every place. And then they have putting greens that are set up like 16 and 17 that are just like the course, and you can putt a little, sit outside, have a cocktail. I had the opportunity to meet Condoleezza Rice that day and then go back onto, the course and enjoy all that. But, I really enjoy the traditional aspect, too, of Augusta, and the pimento cheese sandwiches are all that they're cracked up to be for, I think, $1.50.
Yes, Augusta National, as people that listen to this show know, is my favorite place on the planet. You could tell me, I'll pick you up and sit you down anywhere on the planet. Chris, where do you want to be? I'll choose Augusta National every single time. So I'm jealous that you've got to go to Berkman's Place. So good for you.
And I got to go up Magnolia Lane on Sunday, enter like a player. And yes, that was probably one of those knee-knocking times when I got out of the car. I was in a player's car, so I was very fortunate. And just walking from that viewpoint, it was hands down one of the best experiences of my life. So. Wow,
no doubt. Good for you. I am jealous.
So well, come hang out with me.
Absolutely, please. Let me know how to do that. I definitely. So, Deanna, you were telling me that you've done some shows with Chris DeMarco on Sirius XM's PGA channel, and so along with Chris, and you talked about Greg Norman. Who are some of the players or people in the industry that you've enjoyed spending some time with?
Oh yes, actually, how I really got involved and created this tee to table concept. I was down at a Symetra Tour event a few years ago, and I had the opportunity to meet Mallory Blackwelder. And Mallory was on the very first Big Break Ireland, and she finished pretty well. I think she finished third. And she actually met her husband there, and he's Julian Trudeau, and he's a caddy for Graham Dillette. But I had met her that day at the Florida's Natural, and she just impressed me as an up-and-coming LPGA player. She handled herself so well on and off the course, and I ended up sponsoring her for a few years on the tour. And that kind of really opened some doors for me. I've had the opportunity to, part of the Masters trip, I was with Billy Horschel and his group for 2 years, and the year leading into him winning the FedEx Cup. So that was really exciting time to, know Billy and his family and really feel the excitement when he won. That was pretty amazing. And I got to play a round of golf with Jessica Korda at the Coates Championship last year. And Coates Golf is the only female designed golf club out there. I started playing that last year and have become involved with them. So, again, I feel like a pretty lucky girl. I have to pinch myself sometimes with some of the experiences I've had the past few years.
Yeah, and expand on that Coates Golf. It's a company, right, that makes golf clubs and apparel specifically for women that I don't know that people know enough about. Talk about their equipment.
Absolutely. They're based out of Ocala, and they've spent a few years before they launched their project really in the research and design phase of how does a female body move when swinging a golf club. We are different than men. And it was amazing because I played, the high-end male clubs because of the type of player I am and being athletic and those types of things. And they sent me a set of clubs to demo. And the first time I was swinging them, I was with my swing coach, and we had, the TrackMan and the K-Vest on, and the numbers were so amazing, like just smash factor and all those things. But the natural feel of them, the epitome of it is they're designed for the competitive female golfer. They're working, I think Julie Inkster is one of their lead tour players playing the clubs, and there's just this different feel. And I'll tell you what, some of my male friends are kind of jealous. They want to play them too.
Great. And Deanna, by the looks of things, it seems like you've gotten to be a part of some really fun events. Again, talking about the thing you were able to do with Greg Norman. But what are some of the other things that stick out to you that you've gotten to be a part of?
I've been to some really great events with the 19th Hole magazine. I led a panel discussing golf and where's golf going, what do we need in golf. I think a lot of people talk about how is golf going to be sustainable over the years, and that's involving families, maybe having shorter play, 13-hole golf courses. So it's been very exciting to be part of, focus groups and discussions on where can we get golf to go to have that sustainability and attracting female golfers, and speaking to women's groups on how did I become involved with golf. I've only been golfing for 5 years, and what led that to me to golf? It is, being in the business world and using golf as a tool and helping women be able to feel comfortable in any setting on a golf course.
So now let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little beer. I saw your post that there are 205 breweries up there in Michigan. So
there
has some
are
great beer?
Atwater Brewing, a lot of people know that name. They're a more nationwide label, but what's so fun is just being able to hop in the car and I'm in a suburb of Detroit, Bloomfield Hills, which I'm 2 miles from Oakland Hills Country Club. But it's great to hop in the car and go downtown Detroit, which was unheard of 10 years ago. And there are all these little craft breweries that you can walk to and enjoy their food. And, we have one place called Green Dot Stable who has all the craft beers, but they also have 30 different kinds of sliders. So you can go there and have just a taste fest and a drink fest at the same time.
And Deanna, you posted back in August, pairing beer and bacon. I'm not sure it gets much better than that. The picture showed some interesting looking strips of bacon. So what was that about?
It's one of the local breweries here, and they have a bacon platter. So some of it's maple glazed bacon and hot bacon and chocolate bacon, and it was just a fun experiment. Let me tell you, it's not something you do every day, but the saltiness with the crispness of the beer, I think that's pretty spot on.
I'm talking with Deanna Alfredo here on Next on the Tee, and Deanna, just a couple more before we let you go. I was checking out your YouTube channel, Tee to Table, and one of your videos that you show on there is from the John Deere Classic, talking to folks about Shake Day. Right now,
yes,
beer, bacon, now Shake Day. For those who aren't aware, talk about what Shake Day is.
Oh, going to the John Deere was an amazing opportunity as well. I was able to do 3 spots on their local TV and do interviews. I did an interview with the chef out at the course that hosts the John Deere Classic. I also got to interview the Entrevero family who hosted Jordan Spieth that first year when he got the exemption sponsorship to play in the John Deere, and he actually won. And that was really exciting. I went to their home and I played basketball with their 16-year-old right where Jordan was, and that was a great experience. But Shake Day is hosted by Whitey's Ice Cream. They're a 100-year-old ice cream manufacturer in the Tri-County area there. And I had the opportunity to meet both of the owners, their brothers, and taste the ice cream. That was a rough afternoon, let me tell you. And what they have is Shake Day on Tuesday of the Tour Championship to the John Deere Classic, and they bring in shakes for the players. And it's really great. I know the players really enjoy it, and some of the tour wives say they should limit them to 1 shake a day.
And one of the great things about the game of golf is it gives us time to build relationships, whether it's friendships or over business and that sort of thing. Talk about some of the things you've been able to do out on the golf course.
Yeah, like I said, I have a business that I've had for 14 years outside of Tee to Table the last several years, and I became involved in golf because I would travel to trade conferences and conferences hosted by my clients where we don't have the opportunity just to go in and say, hey, let's do lunch to build our relationships. There are golf tournaments that kick off the conference, and the first year I attended, I was 1% of females in this industry, and I looked around and I said, how do you guys know each other? And they said, well, we played golf yesterday. So the next year, you better believe it, I had a cute outfit, I had taken a few lessons, and I was out on the golf course. And really what I learned is that golf is one of those only times in our modern age where electronics are forbidden. You shouldn't really have your phone out. You shouldn't be on, your social media as much as possible. Those types of things where you actually engage with your playing partners for, let's hope 4.5 rounds, sometimes 4.5 hours, sometimes 5. But I've found that that's the only time that there is that uninterrupted time, and it is a great relationship builder, whether you're in business or with your family, or I have a 13-year-old, and let me tell you, to have that 4 hours where it's uninterrupted is priceless.
Deanna, one more before we let you go. And when you're sitting around, whether it's with family or friends, what are some of the favorite stories that you like to share with them about your experience, whether it's being at a tournament or players you've met or places you've been? What are some of those favorite stories you like to share with them?
I think it's twofold. Having spent time with a lot of the players and their wives, we get this sense of they're almost like superstars to us, right? We see them on the TV. We see how great they are at the sport. But at the end of the day, they're so family-oriented, and the tour wives have such a great philanthropic focus in some of the events that they do that it's the behind the scenes. And I think that golf is unique in that respect because we're always having charity events and those types of things in comparison to other professional sports. I really found this sense of family behind the scenes. And then on the other aspect of it, the golf lifestyle and just being able to travel and enjoy those things around a sport is you can't really go out and do that playing basketball. Maybe skiing you can, but I think golf is one of those unique hobbies or focal points where you can go and travel to a resort and have a spa day and all these things. It's not just golf. There's so much around it.
Deanna, before we let you go, tell our listeners again, how can they follow you online and over social media as well?
Absolutely. I have a Facebook page that is you can Google either Deanna Alfredo or Tee to Table. You can also find my website at www.tee2table.com. And I will be on Instagram and Twitter. If you search under Tee to Table or my name, you can find me. So good stuff coming in the future.
There you go. Deanna, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to be a part of the show. It was fantastic to catch up with you and hear about some of the the great things that you've been a part of. I hope you'll come back and continue to share with us some of the new things that you get to be involved with, and then as things grow for the 19th Hole magazine and Tee to Table, that you'll share those things with us. So it's been just an absolute delight having you as part of the show this morning.
Oh, thank you, Chris. It's been a lot of fun, and I'd be happy to come back.
Thank you, Deanna. Take care. We look forward to catching up with you again real soon. In between now and then, all the best to you and your family, Deanna. That was Deanna Alfredo. Again, the website is tee2table.com. You can find her on Twitter at Tee2Table. She's also got a website, DeannaAlfredo.com. And then the magazine is the 19th Hole Magazine, which you can find online at 19thholemag.com. Really great to get the opportunity to talk to Deanna, talk about some cool experiences. And then, boy, does it get better to talk about the great places she's been, the people that she's been around, and we get to hear about great food, beer, bacon. Come on, it doesn't get any better than that. Good for Deanna. And then she gets to go to Berkman's place. You want to talk about jealous? You guys know how much Augusta National means to me, and to think that she got to go to Berkman's place and to travel up Magnolia Lane as well. Wow. All right, folks, it's time for me to put a bow on this episode. But before we close up shop, I want to continue to remind you about our friends and our partner, PGA Tour professional Jim Estes, and the great folks over at the Salute Military Golf Association. Let's hear from Jim about the great things that they're doing.
The Salute Military Golf Association was created to provide rehabilitative golf experiences to the brave men and women who have been wounded while serving our country. Hi, I'm Jim Estes, PGA Golf Pro and co-founder of the Salute Military Golf Association. With my adaptive golf program, we've successfully helped thousands of soldiers in their recovery, both mentally and physically. The SMGA has been providing family-inclusive golf experiences across the country since 2007. To date, the SMGA has equipped more than 1,000 warriors with properly fitted golf clubs and has extended its clinic series to more than 8 chapter and affiliate locations across the U.S. If you are a wounded veteran interested in participating, or if you'd like to learn more about the Salute Military Golf Association and find a chapter closest to you, visit our website at smga.org. We've seen firsthand how impactful golf can be in aiding one's recovery. The Salute Military Golf Association, empowering wounded veterans one fairway at a time. Visit smga.org. That's smga.org.
Yeah, Jim and his staff, they're doing some amazing things at the Salute Military Golf Association. Please, to find out more information and to see how you can get involved, go to their site, smga.org. All right, everybody, my sincere thanks again to Tom Patri and Deanna Alfredo for making today's show so much fun for me to be a part of. I hope you enjoyed it, too. Please also check out our sister show, Thursday Night Tailgate, with me and my co-host Bob Lazari, our announcer Joe LaGenusa as well. That show airs live every Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find it on Blog Talk Radio, the Armed Forces Radio Network. Plus, we're all over the net as well. We're available on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, Player.fm, SoundCloud, our good friends over at Podbean. So please check out that show. Every week we are joined by legends from around the NFL. Please also check out both shows on Facebook. Give us a like. That's important to us, too. You can find, this show, Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, Thursday Night Tailgate. You can also find this show online at nextonthetee.net. From there, you can stream or download any of our archive episodes for free, plus keep up to date with who some of our future guests are going to be as well. Folks, thank you again for choosing to listen to this show today. We know you got thousands of choices out there. We really appreciate that you're making Next on the Tee one of them. Until next week. Hit him straight, my friends.